What's up guys, welcome back to Real Talk, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about my new BMW M2 Competition. So there's a lot to go over. I know I've not uploaded a video in yonks, but a lot of stuff has happened. For those who follow me on social media, you would have seen that my M2, unfortunately, I was involved in an accident, which I'm going to discuss a little bit about that, hence why I've changed my car. But I'm also going to talk about why I bought an M2 Competition out of all the other options, and what I think the main differences are between a competition, a comp, and a OG M2 is. I know there's a lot of speculation between the two, a lot of emotions about which one people think better. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. So before we go any further on today's video, I just want to say a massive thank you to Carly for sponsoring this video today. So for those who are familiar with Carly, then obviously you know how much of an awesome device it is. For those who aren't, let me tell you a little bit more. Now just before we do, you're probably wondering, why on earth are you doing this video in a suit? Reason is it's so easy to code your car with Carly. I've literally popped out for lunch, 10 minutes later I've coded my car and made it personal to me. So with Carly, simply what it is, it's an OBD adapter that you plug straight into your OBD port. You download the app, which is not only compatible with iOS, it is also with Android. Plug it into your OBD, immediately it will connect you through to the app and it will start running checks on the vehicle straight away. Now Carly not only helps you identify any health threats or risks with your vehicle, you're also able to do a full vehicle health check. But where it really comes into its own is where you can fully customize and configure your car to make it really personal and make your car your second home essentially. Now yes, we're in the BMW M2 today. Not only is Carly compatible with BMWs, it works with most makes and models, so the likes of Audis, BMWs, Mercedes, Lexuses, all sorts you can imagine. But on this particular car, we've got some really cool features that I've already coded in, which I'm excited to show you. So in particular, the active sound. Now I know a lot of us aren't really big fans of that. I am, I'll be honest. But on this particular car, you can see here, the list goes on. I can turn it off. I can change it to an M3, an M4, an M5. I can even change it to a Rolls Royce, which is just absolutely mega. But you can do all sorts as well. You can also change up the start symbols. You can change them to Minis, Alpinas, as well as that you can also have the in-screen entertainment. You can just really make it personal to you. So again, I just want to say thank you to Carly for sponsoring this video, but I'm so happy with how it works, and literally even me, I've just coded my car in 10 minutes. Just want to say a massive thank you again to Carly for sponsoring this video, and if you want 15% off your own Carly device, make sure you use the discount code in the description of this video. So you join me in the M2 competition. So look, there's loads of things to talk about in this video. I think the first thing to address is what happened to the M2. I put a post out on social media. I know a lot of you who watch my videos don't follow me on social media. Basically, I was in an accident and unfortunately the M2 was written off. Now, it was no fault of my own. The person who crashed into me, I'll explain the accident in a minute, accepted full liability and everything was looked after. Still, I'm going to physio at the minute, but I'm okay, which is the main thing. So basically what happens, country lanes, you know what they're like, national speed limit. I was driving, doing under the speed limit by the way, genuinely, and a car came into a little box. So I was coming this way, car was coming that way, and there was a turning to go across me. So he came into this box and he stopped, so I thought that's fine. So I lifted off naturally and he just started rolling out really slowly. And if he'd pulled out quickly, I would have had enough time to stop. But the fact he started rolling out slowly, I thought, hold on a second here. And bear in mind, I was really close to him at this point. And because he was rolling out so slow, there is no way I would have been able to stop in time before smacking into the side of him. So, you know, they say when you're about to have an accident, everything slows down. It really does. I was going to swerve onto the opposite side of the road to try and avoid it. But unfortunately, there were cars coming the other way. So, you know, both of you doing 50, 60 mile an hour, it's 120 mile an hour impact. So I tried to swerve into the side road that he was pulling into, but unfortunately, I ran out of space, and he just basically T-boned me. So the airbags went off. I've got scratches all on my neck. I had burns on my arm, bruised eye. But other than the car was obviously a write-off, and I was okay, which is the main thing. They were okay, which is the main thing, and he admitted fault straight away, which is good. And insurance on their job and paid out. So that left me in a position where, look, I've got no car, I can start afresh again. What do I get? So there were loads of cars at this point that I was umming and ahhing about. Now, one of the main reasons why I haven't uploaded in a long time is I've just moved house, which is very, very stressful for those who've done it. Obviously, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Then I had the accident. It was all just, I didn't have time, and you only have time to think. Working with the car, trying to find a car, then moving house. It was all very, very stressful. So I'm back here, which is the main thing. So why did I choose an M2 Competition? Now, to be perfectly honest, I always liked a competition. I could just never afford it at the time, because there's still prices now. They're still crazy, even for used ones. You know, we're talking 45, 46, 47 grand for a decent one with very low mileage. And I like the M2. I heard great things about it. I loved the M2, don't get me wrong, but I was in the market again. I thought, right, I want to get something different. Of course, I thought about getting another M2 in the same colour, same everything. But there were a few different cars on the list. So first one, which I really, really wanted, but I thought with a new house, I don't want to overcommit myself to something, which was a Cayman GT4. Absolutely love those cars. And got a bit obsessive with it, to be honest. And I was looking at the older ones, not the new 718s. So like 65, 16 plates, that kind of year. There was also GTRs, not old school GTRs like my previous one. I was looking at R35s, so the facelifted one, not the brand new ones, the facelifted one, so around 2012. But I kind of put that to bed because I thought, look, I'm going to be spending a lot of money here. I want to have something that's got decent warranty, manufacturing warranty. Anything goes wrong, I am absolutely covered. And then obviously the competition. Now, I was very specific with the spec of comp that I wanted, and it was originally Hockenheim Silver. I wanted the big brakes, so the 6 pots at the front, which by the way are huge, probably unnecessary to be fair. And I wanted a manual because I wanted something really driver focused, and as you can appreciate, trying to find one of those was absolutely impossible. So I had to give and take on a few options, whether that be the manual, whether it be the colour, and I found a perfect one. So Hockenheim Silver, it done 4,000 miles, had the big brakes, it had a Miltech exhaust system on it, sounded epic. I actually bought that car and I drove all the way to, where was it now? All I know is it was bloody far. It was about a 2.5 hour drive. Funds had paid out, ready to collect, and I said to myself, this sounds a little bit too loud aftermarket. So I was talking to the guy and he said, yeah, it is really, really quick. So I thought, do you know what? I'll ring Litchfield, just out of chance. So I rang Litchfield and they confirmed that the car itself had been in, and it is basically stage 1, and it did also have the crank hub bolt, whatever it is, done. But as you can appreciate, if you're buying a 45 grand car, I don't really want one that's going to be out of warranty in terms of gearbox and engine. So I think I'd done the sensible thing and I walked away. Started looking again and I found this one, and I know it was a good buy. It was from BMW directly, and when I put it into We Buy Any Car, the We Buy Any Car price to the price that I negotiated was more than what I actually bought the car for. So straight away, I knew that I was in a pretty decent position, if that makes sense. That's how I kind of gauge buying my cars. Low mileage, had 4,000 miles, well looked after, pristine condition. Yes, it was Long Beach blue. I didn't want to go Long Beach again because I thought it's the same stuff, but I did genuinely love that colour. So I went to go and see it, and yeah, absolutely loved it. And that is why I have now got an M2 Competition in Long Beach blue. It looks very similar to my old one because obviously I had the competition wheels on my old one. Obviously mine was on coilovers as well, so it was a lot lower, so this is a bit higher, and hence why it feels a little bit different. So getting on to that, moving on nicely, what do I think are the differences between this and the OG M2? So I'm just going to be completely honest with it. There are things that I absolutely loved about the M2 and things that I hated, and with the M2 Comp, again, things that I absolutely love and that I hate as well. So we'll start with the M2 Comp, considering we're in it. So what do I love? Comparing it to the M2, interior, far better. Should have been what the M2 was out the box, okay? The seats, perfect. I absolutely love them. The mirrors, obviously we all had it, even on our M140s, M35s, we had the M4, M3 style mirrors. So that kind of stuff I absolutely love anyway, okay? So that is the one where the M2 Comp absolutely trumps the M2. The looks, controversial one. Obviously these have got the adaptive LEDs, so not the full round ones, and that was another thing that was on my spec list. I needed to have the adaptive LEDs. I just think it changes the car completely. I personally think the M2 Comp from the front looks better, especially with the mirrors, the new grille, the little bit on the bumper at the bottom. I think it looks better at the front. The rear, the only thing that lets it down is that cow udder. And there's no other way to describe it. It is an udder. Now, person that I bought this from previously obviously tried painting the udder, done a good job of it. I put some quite strong products on when I washed it, and it just took it all off, and now it actually looks like a cow, because some of it's like whitish and some of it's black. It just looks terrible. So I need to sort that. I'm going to be getting a new exhaust. Now, what about the car feel? Does it feel different to an M2? Honest answer is yes, it does feel different, in good ways and bad ways. So the one thing I will say and will stand by, my car did have coilovers on, okay, but from my experience and my feel, the M2 felt a little bit more raw. Now that's good, because if you're a driver's car, if you're into cars, it's good from a driver perspective. It did feel a little bit more raw, but sometimes it could be a little bit too much, but then on track, absolutely beautiful. Whereas the M2 Comp, obviously it's got slightly different suspension in terms of how it's set up, from the best of my knowledge. It's got different traction control settings, which do play a massive part with how the car feels, performs, handles. I think the M2 Comp is definitely more capable on and off track, but it doesn't feel as raw. So there's pros and cons to both of those there. So that's one which is like, do you know what, either could win here, but the M2 Comp is definitely a more of a capable car. You can push it a little bit harder, and of course, leading on to the next point, the power. It has got more power. Now it isn't massive. We're literally talking like 40-50 brake horsepower, but it's enough to feel a difference. It's definitely more of a handful, I'd say, this car at the best of times, especially with the gear changes. It's just as ferocious as an M2, but the M2 Comp, it is, what's the word? Looking for the right word. With the extra power of the rear wheels, you do probably have to concentrate that little bit more, and I would say it's probably a little bit more forgiving as well than the M2. But the actual engine itself, I do think it's a cracking engine. It's S55, so it's basically, it is a detuned M3, M4 engine. Now you can easily, when you map them, that's why they map to like 520 brake, because it unlocks the full engine potential. Then it's a tune on top of it, basically. I wouldn't map it though, because I think it's enough power. But comparing this engine to the N55 in the normal M2, this is definitely more, what's the word, more free revving, in the sense that you've got more low down grunt. The power band's a lot wiser on this engine. It feels a bit more, it's just, you've got more power, you can notice it. It pulls a lot stronger, especially lower down in the rev range. Of course, it's twin turbo as well, and it's obviously the engine out of the M3, M4. So I do prefer the engine in terms of how it performs. However, that lets me down the most about this car, and I know it can be changed, but comparing it to an M2, an OG M2, the sound is night and day. Big difference between the two. The M2 just sounds quality. It just sounds so good. You get when you lift off, you get the noises, and This is very, very quiet in comparison. When you're inside the car, it doesn't actually sound like anything, if I'm being honest. Outside it does crackle and pop, and it is actually still quite loud, but no way near as loud as the OG M2, no way near. And that, for any true car person, that is a big factor. Doesn't matter what you say, oh, it's all about how the car, it's also the sound, it's all the theatre. It's weird, it's really, really weird. When you're driving both these cars on the limit, they feel very much the same. You can probably push this one a little bit more, it's probably a little bit more capable, but the other one was more raw in that aspect. It's really difficult to explain. But yeah, that is basically my kind of sum up of the two cars. And when you ask which one's better, it's really difficult. It is a really difficult question, especially with prices now. But it really depends on what you think's worth it. You know, I've seen M2s now. So if you look at an 18 plate M2 with, say, 10,000, 15,000 miles, if you go on Auto Trader right now, they're going for around 38, 39 grand. Genuinely, like, have a look. And then for an extra 6, 7 grand, you can have an M2 Comp, which is slightly faster. It's a slightly different car. It's got more power. It's got the interior that the M2 should have had. It really is difficult. From a cash perspective, I think it'd be different to a finance perspective, because both cars, to be fair, on a PCP, or if you're doing it that way, work out very similar. Whereas if you're buying the cars cash, it is a big difference for the two. It really is. And you can do a lot to the M2 with that spare cash if you bought it cash. So it really depends. But am I satisfied with this? Absolutely. Does it need to be louder? Of course it does. So that concludes today's video. Both great cars. I've had them both, and it really is a tough decision. And to be perfectly honest, it's not one that I could possibly say. Both cars come into their own right in different ways. So you let me know in the comments which car you think's better, OG M2 or an M2 Competition. But other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.